This is ABC Action News.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Rebecca Medina. And his statement to investigators was so disturbing, he had to be Baker acted.
So someone broke into your computer?
Yeah.
More than 50 times?
Yes.
The president's vacation was overshadowed by his remarks about a mosque.
And I'm actually standing in about a foot of water. But if you go further back down this street, it gets as deep as 4 feet. And there are homes back there. And I'm told that none of this is going to change for at least another few hours.
Y muy tarde es capturado en el condado Citrus el sospechoso de asesinar una persona ayer en Lecanto. We're talking about the most severe cases of mental illness. We're talking about psychotic criminals the county jail can no longer afford to treat and house. We've blurred their faces to protect their medical privacy, but you're about to see a very clear picture of a world many of us know little about.
People are changing. Their faces are changing.
Go put your clothes on. Put them on.
Have you ever tried to hurt yourself?
Yeah.
What have you tried to do?
Hang myself.
These are the faces of the psychotic, schizophrenic, personality disorders, and more. These are the faces of the mentally ill.
Jumping off the sink, cutting their arm, eating their feces, displaying behavior that poses direct harm to themselves.
One patient that we have, he pulled his own eyes. That really caught me the attention. I mean, he was very psychotic, and he pulled his eye with his finger.
Psychiatrists Jose Hernandez and Beth Weaver told me here, patients are treated and medicated. But these are not the halls of a mental health facility. These are the halls of the Hillsborough County Jail.
As community mental health resources have diminished and dried up as a result of funding and other challenges, we're seeing more and more of these men and women coming into the jail system.
So much more, Colonel Jim Prevatera said about 20% of his inmate population is on psychotropic drugs, costing taxpayers hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. Tough on their budget, but tougher on jail personnel.
Our staff is placed in situations where they're having to deal with inmates in crisis more often, and the levels of crisis that we're seeing continue to escalate.
They smear feces from top to bottom in the cell. They could be standing talking to you and seem like they're normal, and 2 seconds later, they're swinging at you.
Deputy Chuck Miller works the psych pod at Orient Road, the same pod where a deputy was attacked last year, only to be rescued by inmates. This married father of two said he feels more like a healthcare worker than a detention deputy, and it's only getting worse.
It is not fair to our staff and our deputies to continue to expect them to be mental health workers. They're not mental health workers, and we can give them training, but we can't train them to the level of psychiatry that's necessary to deal with these individuals.
Individuals who spend hours detoxing from street drugs in the suicide ward. Those intent on harming themselves command 24-hour watch. Then there's lockdown. Every female inmate in this pod is so medicated, they're kept from general population.
I would give the permission, take my blood, and match it with the blood that whoever got my identity that's looking like me.
The work is getting harder. Inmate population is increasing, and budgets are shrinking, along with Colonel Prevatera's hopes of relief for his deputies and better care for those who desperately need it.
We can no longer look at the mental health issues in society as a line item in a budget. We can't just look at a spreadsheet and decide that an item related to mental health costs too much money.
State officials are considering cutting dollars that fund the only county mental health facility. If that happens, Prevatera says the population at the jail will soar. More mentally ill inmates will hit the streets and self-medicate with dangerous street drugs. The perfect combination for a public safety crisis knocking at all of our doors.
And they're going back to your neighborhood, and they're going back to my neighborhood, and they're going back to everybody who watches this. They're going back to your neighborhoods.
And they are bringing their demons with them.
Come from the wall, that's all I can tell you.
In the last 3 years, the Hillsborough County Jail has spent nearly $1 million just in psychotropic drugs. Now, there's a group of local leaders trying to come up with a more effective way of treating these inmates. The first step, housing them somewhere else.
Edward Finneran is charged with 50 counts of child pornography. Investigators say they found 4,500 sexually explicit movies and pictures of children.
Well, with all the child porn, why are you busted with all that child porn?
Somebody repaired our computers and put it on for their own purpose.
So someone broke into your computer?
No.
More than 50 times?
Yes.
14 men were busted in Polk County during a month-long undercover investigation. Most of the suspects refused to talk, like this man, Paul Fazio, who works at Animal Kingdom in Disney. When he was arrested, investigators say he told them watching adults having sex with children was exciting to him. Then there were some who surprisingly opened up.
So would you say you have a problem?
No, I was just experimenting.
You were experimenting. You've been downloading images of children in sexual positions and you don't think you're sick?
No, I don't think I'm sick.
That's Alan Roth. Investigators say he told them he thought sexual child abuse images were legal since they were on the internet. Listen to what he tells me next.
What do you have to say to the kids that were in those videos, though? The kids that were in all of those images that have been abused so that you could experiment.
I don't know what to say.
Paz Quesada says her sons Juan and Sergio Guitron were her greatest two treasures. And on Thanksgiving, her treasures were taken from her in a brutal, calculated murder.
Para mí eran perfectos.
She said they were perfect to me. They were loving, respectful men who worked hard and had plans for their future. She lost her husband a few years ago on New Year's Eve, and now her sons in a Thanksgiving Day massacre.
Ellos no merecían esto.
They didn't deserve this, she said. They had their whole lives ahead of them. Witnesses said Sergio and Juan were playing poker with friends on the front porch of this house in Ruskin. A man reportedly wearing a T-shirt with the word sheriff on it got out of a green minivan with a gun and ordered them to the ground. Witnesses claim he asked for someone they didn't know. Shortly after, he fired on them all, killing Paz Quesada's only two sons and injuring several others.
He never displayed any kind of characteristics of being involved in anything outside of a legal term, and for some schmuck to come up and do what he did to him, I hope they find him real fast.
Many believe it was a case of mistaken identity, and the sheriff's office has vowed to catch the killer. Paz told me she feels dead inside. Her name in English means peace, and she says that will forever be the irony of her life.
No sé qué va a pasar.
I don't know what's left of my life. My life is now gone with my boys.